Okay, the first person on our list, these were by random draw. Mark Baker is not with us today. He is attending a wedding. His godson's getting married today, and he's the best man up in Philadelphia. So he was going to come to the May meeting to introduce himself. And the first candidate that's running is the Reverend John Colbert. You'll come on up, John. And we have, there is a 10 minutes is what we're going to give you. I know they used to give you 3. When I ran, they gave me 3 and I could barely get my name out by 3 minutes.
Okay.
So get 10 minutes and she'll throw something at you when it's time to go.
All right. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. This is my first electoral race on a ticket. I've been elected to many offices before in my career path, but this is the first time I've qualified to run for an office. And I prayed about it and I came to some peace about it. So I decided to put my name in the hat. We have good candidates in this race. Either way, we win. We win. Fayette County win, and the district wins. Just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the government for over 30 some odd years. I worked in Atlanta city government for over 30 years. I worked in Fulton County government for 5 years, and I worked in Jacksonville, Florida government 2 years, and Fairburn government for 1 year. All of my government career, I was one who got the job done when it came to getting service delivery to the people. That's why this is a compatible position for me to run for, because I have the ability to go through the bureaucracy and find out where the service needs are and to pull them out and get them to the people. Collaboration for this position is very important. You must be able to collaborate with your colleagues. We know we sit in a house at the state capitol where we don't have an easy road to pull. I was a young guy when I was selected to be a part of the Legislative Black Caucus. I was over interns for the Legislative Black Caucus, and in the Legislative Black Caucus, our job was to go to both houses and follow and track bills from the legislative side and the Senate side, and take those bills and present them to the Legislative Caucus so that they could follow up on the impact of each bill, especially as it affected the Black community, both positive and negative. I also served with the Georgia Recreation and Parks Administration on the Legislative Action Committee. We had to go to the state capitol once a year when the legislature was in session and lobby the legislators for those items that impacted parks and recreation. The Bureau of Outdoor Recreation, U.S. Corps of Engineers, and those legislative actions that we followed and tracked were those to try to get funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund so we could have greater green spaces, outdoor activities for the various park systems throughout the state of Georgia. I also was part of the movement of the getting the legislature to take the taxes off of the film industry's equipment so that this region, Georgia and Atlanta area, would be a movie mecca. It didn't just happen. People are not just coming here because this is a great place to film. They're coming because the state of Georgia got behind the movement of the film people in Georgia in the early 90s to get the film industry to come here. And people began to talk like New Orleans would beat Atlanta area out. When they filmed the Ray Charles story, they said, why is it being filmed in New Orleans? They said, well, New Orleans gives them more incentive to come. So Georgia got the message. And as a result of us going on TV and talking about the film industry here, I had a little small extras casting agency. The film industry came to Georgia. It's no accident. It was planned. So I've had some experience with the legislature. I also worked with my boss at the time, who was over the Economic Development Office, when we redid Underground Atlanta. We had to do land swaps with the state in order to get the land to build Underground Atlanta. Underground Atlanta had to have land exchanges with the city and the state. So I was around the table when all of those actions were taking place with the state legislature. We were in the room with the governor and members of the Fulton County delegation. So I'm no stranger to the legislative process. And I would like to throw my hat in the ring and seek your support for putting me in a position to be elected to this position so that I can serve the people of the 6th District. Are there any questions?
Like the candidates will remain for questions because we're going to have time. We get through this. You can have a pretty much a forum in here and talk to any of them that you want to.
Okay. One thing I omitted, my commissioner reminded me, I serve on the planning commission for Fayette County Planning Commission. And I've been on that commission for about 4 terms. Thank you.
Okay, and our next candidate up is Eric Jackson.
Good morning, Fayette Dems. Oh, come on. This Easter weekend. Good morning, Fayette Dems. Good morning, Fayette Dems. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice. This weekend. Think about this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We could not have been in this room a few months ago. There are over 39,000 Georgians that died during COVID. So it is great to be amongst the living. It is even greater to be in person. What your government can do for you is the most critical thing, and that is to show up for you. There's 3 words I just want you to remember. Serve, lead, and care. Serve, lead, and care. I know most of you all in here, but for those who don't know, I serve. Serve, that's what I do. I serve. I start my service at home first. It is awesome to be called husband. It is awesome to be called father. I have an awesome, beautiful wife. And we have 7 amazing, beautiful children. And 1 bubbly grandson. And the reason why I start there, ladies and gentlemen, because you have to know who your candidate is that's going to serve you. I'm not a preacher, but I have a good brother right here. If you can't serve at home, you cannot serve outside of your home. Serve is important. I'm a retired naval officer. I served 22 years in the United States Navy. That's what service is to me. And after I retired in 2005 from the United States Navy, that service didn't stop. I went into corporate America, did exceptionally well, working for companies like General Electric, but I still serve. I was an advocate for United Way. We raised $1.3 million under my leadership as a corporate executive, because I wanted to make sure that single mothers had absolutely resources, the resources they needed in Atlanta to help provide for them and their families. Then in 2016, some of you all in here urged me to run. And I did, because of your support and your vote. And during my 3 terms as a state representative, I'm a fighter. Y'all know, y'all hired a fighter. I kept you informed what was happening under the Gold Dome. Zach did a marvelous job giving you an outline of those bills, but not all the bills. He'll still be up here speaking if he had to give you an outline of all the bills. There's nearly 900 bills that circulate through that legislative process. And I read every one of them. Because as Jack mentioned, you have to know what's in black and white in order to fight for citizens. You have to know. See, House Bill 19, ladies and gentlemen, is that budget that Zach referenced, $32.4 billion. And I would have voted no against that budget. And the reason why I would have voted no, because we're sitting on $12.8 billion in surplus. We cannot be as rich as we are in Georgia and still do not take care of our most vulnerable citizens in our state, our senior citizens and our children. And there's nothing in that bill. Look it up, House Bill 19, look it up. There's nothing in that bill that moves Georgia forward to deal with our seniors and our children. Jack outlined a couple of them when you start talking about gun control and safety or the lack thereof. But when you have a county commissioner like Charles Russo, that said, I just need $10 million, just $10 million, to do some things in Fayette County. 10 million is a drop in a bucket when you're sitting on $12.8 billion surplus. If the mayor was sitting on a surplus, he would tell you, he would do the right things for your citizens. That's what you do. No, he don't have $12 billion. I just want to clear that up. I just want to clear that up. But my point is, this thing is about principles. It's about serving. This is not about me. I am humbled by nearly 30 endorsements. Several of the local leaders right in this room, I'm humbled by their endorsements. But they're not endorsing because of who I am. They're endorsing me because of the work I have done. This is not a hypothesis for me. It's not. I roll up my sleeves. I get to work. I keep you informed. And I fight when I need to fight. That's what I do. I'm my mother's only son. That's how she raised me, bless her soul. And this past week, we recognized 10 years since she had left this world. And that's the reason why I always say, this is the day the Lord has made. I'm going to continue to rejoice because we don't know how long we have. The Honorable Tish Negisi is my successor. And when I received the call that she had passed away, I just sat there because she succeeded me. She succeeded me. Some people called and said, how is it Derek is running for District 68? He was in District 64. I haven't moved. The number of the district just changed during the redistricting process. And as the chairman stated, you know, they changed the boundaries, but there's still a winnable seat. We have to have the right candidate in the seat. This past week, ladies and gentlemen, if there's nothing else you have not learned, when the chairman was breaking down what took place in Tennessee, let's be real for a moment. This is not like high school. This is not about a celebrity contest here. You have to have the right legislator to represent you, period, in the story. Yes, we do have great candidates. Yes, everyone have the right to serve. That's what I gave my life for 22 years in the Navy. And you're going to hear some candidates going to say, experience doesn't matter. I beg to differ. Experience matters. Experience matters. The next word is lead. Lead our lead in the most humble way. with integrity. Some of you know the things that I've done that's in the newspaper, help economic development, pass some local legislation to help enable some of our municipalities to get things done. But it's the things that you won't read in newspaper. When you call me up and you say, my son needs a passport, but his license has been expired for a number of years. In order for him to get a passport to go and work for his job overseas, he needs a valid driver license. And in 24 hours, I get that done for you. I'm the one, when you call and say, during the pandemic, my family is hungry, I call up a pastor and say, feed this family. I do the things that you don't or will never read in the AJC or the New York Times. That gives me pleasure. That's what a leader is. Which leads me to my last and final point, care. It's about compassion, ladies and gentlemen. It's about compassion. You see elected officials, they're doing things about themselves, the I and the me. It's all about we and us. Some people say, Derek, you don't have to do this. And you're probably right. But because I care in the way I was raised, if not me, then who? I want to make sure that a society for my grandson, your grandchildren, will have a democracy that they say, when it was our turn, we did the right thing. You can go to derekjackson.org and you learn more about my campaign. Thank you.
I do want to share something Derek did say. All the elected officials, we do it for that humongous paycheck that they give us. We make at least $1.25 an hour. I think that was the last check, just to let you know. So it is about caring. It is about serving. The next candidate is Miss Jane Williams.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Blessed and highly favored. Well, it is me again, Jane Williams, candidate for House District 68. A Georgia native, born and raised in Loganville, Georgia. A first-generation college grad, raised by a single mother with 9 siblings. I worked in the public defender's office for 10 years as a paralegal. I'm a paralegal now for a defense attorney. Just a year ago, around the same time, there were 2 women in this race for House District 68. Today, there are 5 candidates, 4 men and 1 woman. I'm the woman, y'all. Represented our race. When it was over, Representative Tish Nagisi went on to make history as a woman. She went on to break barriers, the status quo, as a woman, because women are underrepresented in our state legislature, in all forms of government. According to the National Conference of State Legislators, after the 2020 election, we got a boost where we went from about 25% to a little over 30% of representation, 32.5 to be exact. That's not enough. Why can't we have 51% of representation? We can, but it's up to you, voters, to make it happen. I believe that if more women are sitting at the table, that more can be done, such as paid family leave, making progress with these ridiculous voting rights, restrictions, mental health that we can't seem to get past, Medicaid expansion, infant mortality rates rising, maternal mortality rates rising, especially with women of color. No hospital on this side of I-20 South in South Fulton County, just to name a few. And we talked this morning about the safety of our children. Some of these ridiculous gun laws, permitless, that have been passed. Now, I was a victim advocate. And one of the things about being a victim advocate is that when you have a domestic situation, those violators are not supposed to have weapons. But now, who knows if they do, because they don't have to register, you don't have to answer, you don't even have to answer any question on whether you have a gun or not. These are ridiculous laws that we need to fix and get control of. It's not to say you can't have a weapon, but we need to know who has these weapons. You need to have a universal background check. Mental health is real, y'all.
Yeah.
We think it's not, it is real. Now, when I didn't win my race, I didn't disappear or sit down, y'all. I kept working and showing up in my community as I always do. Oh, I may not have legislature experience, but I can read, I can think, I can ask questions, and I'm a fighter. You know, growing up with 9 siblings in the household, how could I not be? And being the baby girl, how could I not be a fighter? Okay? But when I am working in a community and I am called on certain community concerns, like the BP station at Washington Road and Roosevelt Highway that had closed. It was an eyesore. It became a dumping site. Well, community people like myself, what we do, go around, we take pictures, we call the representative to help them to understand we need to control this. Well, eventually, we got that BP knocked down, we got it cleaned up, and we got it roped off. Where they are going to come and make it a turnaround, okay? Also, on 138 and Beseda Road, where there were 5 deaths, community leaders, and somebody like me, a community advocate, would go and hold press conferences, meet with people. Until right now, there is a traffic light that has been installed. It is not on yet, but it's up, ready to be installed, ready to be turned on, okay? So I am asking you that when you go to the poll, send a woman back to finish the job that Representative Tish Nagisi started. Send a message. Send a message that this seat is not a seat of convenience, but a seat that requires work, commitment, consistency, a leader. Because visibility matters, accessibility matters, and you matter. Thank you, Mr. Chair. for inviting me today. If you want to help or volunteer for somebody, I need your help because I got some giants running against me, y'all. I need some help in volunteering. I need some donations. If you want to volunteer or need any information on my campaign, you can go to electjames68.org. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak this morning.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, and last but not least is Taiwo Adowu.
How'd you beat that, right? Before I start, I want to do something a little bit personal. I have my whole speech written out, but I just want to take a step back for a second. I mean, all of us probably know our dear friend Heidi. And if you don't, Heidi is a strong supporter and a really big advocate and a worker for the party here in Fayetteville for a significant amount of time. I went to visit Heidi a couple of days ago, and as I was there sitting with her, Heidi is not well right now. I was holding her hand, and it reminded me of the first conversation I had with Heidi. She called me. This is when I was running for town council. Nobody knew I existed in this world. I think the only people that knew I existed was Virgil and Heidi at that point. Heidi called me and we just spoke about my family. We spoke about my kids. We just spoke about life, not policies, nothing about all of that. And she ended the call with saying this to me: "You look like you care. And because you care, I will support you." I got off the phone with Heidi, and for me, that was a big moment because when you first step out to run for an office, even for town council, and nobody knows who you are. I mean, no one knew who I was in Tyrone. It was a big deal for me that somebody like that didn't know me, made that comment to me. And she did stand by her word. Called me almost every day. "What are you doing today? What have you done? Who have you called? Who have you texted?" I was like, and every time I go off the phone with her, I was like, "Heidi, I appreciate you more than you will ever know." And as I was with her a couple of days ago, I was really just reminded of the fragility of life. Like, life goes by very quickly. And I do want to just anchor what Mr. Jackson said about care. And I really do beseech you all, not just about this race, but for whoever you elect, if it's for mayor, for councilman, whoever you elect, I beg you, please elect people that just don't say they care, but they actually genuinely do care. Because I didn't think Heidi would have thought she would be in that position where she is at the end of her life. But I wasn't planning on starting there. But I just wanted to share. So now, who am I? For most of you that don't know me, my name's Taiwo Adowu. Quick story, a mentor of mine that didn't know how to say my first name to save his life. I tried hard, but couldn't. So he saw I put a tie wrong. So he took my tie off. He came up to me, he was like, "I need to teach you how to tie a tie." He was putting my tie on and he put it too close to my neck. And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And he was like, "Oh, that's how you say your name, Taiwo." I was like, "Yes, Taiwo." Which is when I ran for town council, you saw we put the tie in because we thought, if someone see the tie, but anyway, so that's how you say my name, Taiwo. Just think about that. I'm married, my beautiful wife, Amy. We've got 4 great kids, Ava, Isaiah, Mary, and sweet Lila Dawn. Sweet Lila Dawn is in heaven. We'll talk about that a different day because that as well helped some of my other policies of what I stand for. This is a very short campaign cycle. We're talking about 2 weeks before early voting starts, and a lot of information can be given to you. But there's something key here that I just want to address today that I know some of my candidates have said, and others have indicated to, is this word experience. I feel like that's going to be the magic word for this campaign. experience. So I thought, let's deal with that now, right? First go, let's deal with this word experience. I've been now in my industry for 13 plus years. I'm in the data protection industry. I currently work for Google. And when I went through the interview process for Google, which was 8 months long, they were not looking at my longevity in my experience. They were actually looking at what did you do in that 13 years? Because that's what they were evaluating me on, because I was coming to lead a team. What did you accomplish in your 13 years? So today, I want to talk to you about one of the things I've accomplished that I feel makes me fit for this position. In my previous job, I was head of privacy, government affairs, and public policy. In short, I had to make sure controls were fine internally, and I had to work with regulators and legislators in Europe and in the US in making sure that data protection laws were not just business friendlies, but they were consumer friendly. And my good friend Virgil will tell you, in the last 2 years, I've been up and down the country, Europe and back, meeting with lots of regulators and legislators. And that was just not in the House, not just in the House, but in the Senate as well. We've had successes. We were in Georgia a couple of times when Georgia decided to bring a data protection law. Worked with the Republican Party there because we did not feel that that law was beneficial to consumers. And we're glad to see that that didn't pass. And two of my big accomplishments that I just want to quickly talk to you about, one was in Utah, where my team spent a significant amount of time with two of the leadership in the committees in trying to get SB 227. That was the Consumer Privacy Act in Utah. We worked with the leadership of the committee from writing the bill, working with all the different representatives to getting it all the way to the floor, taking the questions that were brought up in relation to comments, working with the committee leaders to make sure that those comments were adhered to, and where we didn't feel there were, it wasn't just us, there was a selective people that were helping in that process. But the great thing though is that by the end of this year, the residents of Utah will have a bill that ensures that their residents' data, which is their first name, last name, date of birth, that has more value than oil itself, is in their control, not in business control. So that will be law by the end of the year. My name's not on the bill. I don't care. That was not the purpose of the work. Another accomplishment that I do want, and this one is a very dear personal accomplishment of mine, is I worked with Senator Warnock's office, in which he personally nominated me to sit on the Department of Transportation Equity Board, which would report directly to Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg in providing data, in ensuring that communities that do not have access to, for example, electric vehicle charging stations are not deprived from the funding from the infrastructure bill. I don't carry this everywhere with me, but I thought it was important to bring it here. And my wife said I should be careful because she wants to frame it, but I don't know if we will. This is the letter. So I'm not just talking. This is the actual letter from Senator Warnock nominating me to this committee. Because my involvement in public service has always been there. And I want to be able to bring this experience to this community. I want to be able to bring all that I've accomplished here to Georgia, where you can work with House Democrats and House Republicans to not just say we will get things done, to actually get things done. There are bills that Democrats have written that have passed. So this ideology that we can't do anything is actually false. So if you would like to know more about who I am, I would gladly talk to you. My information is on the table. And I hope today that, not less to convince you, but more to show you that I believe that I am the right candidate to ensure that the legacy of Representative Letitia is actually taken forward. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, ladies, so that is our 5 candidates. I said Mark Baker will be coming in May to share his platform. But it is great to think that we have people who actually step up to do this job. Because I'm gonna tell you what, now I'm just a lowly city councilman, but I will tell you what, we accomplish things on a daily basis that affect our lives. Local government starts at the bottom, goes through the state government and on up. Those of us who serve at local and state levels, we're the ones who do this work. The federal government, because I can tell you, I'm going to tell you something Mr. Dan Cathy said. It's his billions of dollars he's putting in here at Trilith and what he said. And I'm going to make it tell you what, this involves our honorable mayor. It involves our city council. He said that if Washington, D.C. could operate the way that Mayor Johnson and his council does, they could solve most of the problems in America in 2 weeks. Because when they come to us, we make sure that it works for everybody. Because that's the biggest problem. And that's what we need to expect from our state representatives. They go in there, they do the work for us. And you know what our job is to support them. It takes a lot of money to run these races. It is not free. These signs are not free. Nothing is free, as we know. So I know we're always asking for money, but there's a reason we do, because guess what? The other side gets loaded up with money from places we don't know where it even comes from. Amen to that. Okay. We need to make sure it comes from the people. $5 at a time if you can do it. Grassroots fundraising is what it's about. No, the meeting is getting ready to be over. And believe it or not, it's only 10:27 and Joe Clark's going to quit running his mouth. And I know y'all are used to my long talking. But however, it's going to give you an opportunity here to talk to our candidates in here. You can ask them questions. There is a lot going on in a very short period of time. Early voting starts April 24th and the election's on May 16th. Now, the elections this fall for municipal elections, I will tell you this, we wish they were only 6 weeks long. You know, I know working with Tish last year when she started in March and we were going all the way through November, you know, and it was, of course, terribly sad that her run for office lasted much longer than the time she got to serve. But you know what? I can guarantee you this. She doesn't regret 1 second that she campaigned that long to go in there and try to make a difference. So what we need to do in this room is make sure these candidates make a difference for us. Okay. And the way we do it is we support them financially and we give them heck once they get up in there if they're not doing the job. Okay. Trustees. Even at the local level, as I'll tell you, this week we got it. The citizens showed up and wore us out this week on something we couldn't even do anything about. But you know what? They made us aware of what's going on. And that's what we have to do as constituents. You know, no matter who we elect, they work for you. Okay? They do. And I will tell you, I've called our elected representatives and I've asked them to do things. And you know what? They'll do it. They will. And believe it or not, even the Republicans will help you out at times. You know, sometimes if that's the level where we're at, which we got to change that District 3 Congress next year, just remember that. If we can flip that, we'll get a lot more easier answers. So in closing today, because this is the last thing on the agenda, our next meeting, of course, is second Saturday next month. And but let's say Mother's Day is the next day, I think, of that. So yeah. But by then, early voting, by the time our next meeting is, early voting is over. Just remember that. The only election day will be there. And once again, I'm always going to encourage this of Democrats. Vote early. We do not know what the shenanigans will happen ever on election day. Okay? Or a tornado comes by and you're out of, you can't go vote, those type of things. But these people who are running for office, they're not doing this for fun. They're not, because I'm going to tell you, you know, somebody just in this job that we do here for the Democratic Party, I'm going to tell you what, if I actually knew what I was going to have to do this job as chairman, I'd be sitting at home right now on the sofa. But I'm going to tell you what, do you know why we do it? Because we know that we have to, because nobody's going to come up behind us and do the job for us. And Democrats in this room, it's going to be the last minute I'm going to talk, I swear to God. We've got a huge 2024 coming up. We're preparing now. Jan in field operations. Bertha and her, with her twin sisters, you can tell they look just alike, are working their rear ends off. Jamie, she's always on me. Zach, Jared, Angela, we have a team together to help y'all. This is to help the candidates. This is to help when you get in there. Because I'm gonna tell you what, 2024, we need 12 new seats in the State House. 12 seats in the State House next year. And let me tell you what, Leader Beverly had already given Tish Negisi a job that a lot of people don't know about. Because she did such a good job in her own campaign, he gave her a list of 12 seats. We need to flip these 12 seats. There were less than 1,000 votes separating these people. And you know how many voters we're leaving sitting at home? How many voters in this county, Democrats, we left sitting at home in 2022? Okay, we left 47% of our Democrats sat right at home and didn't go vote. Did you know if across the state of Georgia, if we could just get 5% more turnout in Democrats, we'd run the Republicans out of the state. 5%, you know, because it's going to be very important by the time 2030 comes around for one big reason: reapportionment. We can stop this gerrymandering that has caused things. Why does Tennessee have a supermajority? Because, for example, the city of Nashville always had Democratic representation all over. Did you know they went in there and carved it up like a piece of pie to make sure they didn't have any? Nashville, Tennessee. What they're doing is they're cutting us out because they know that's the only way they can keep us cut out.
Yeah, look at Athens.
You know, look at Athens, Georgia, what they did to it. You look at the state of Georgia. I want to know how we elect 2 statewide senators, but we can't get but 5 congressmen. And we got 9 Republicans over here and 5 Democrats over here. Why is that? We know why it is. So I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be a passion the entire time that I do this job. And I'm going to require it of every one of you also. You know, and I did say, I want us to honor Tish Negisi in this election right here. Show that you can come out and vote. Because every time we go out and vote, don't think they're not watching.